Well, that was fun, guys. First of all, appreciate everybody for being here. Alabama gets a massive 37-20 victory over Tennessee. Its fourth straight win over a top 20 opponent. No, it wasn't perfect. No, there are going to be things that we talk about on tonight's show that kind of displays some of the things that they need to continue to work on. But give this team credit once again. It's another week, and I feel like we're at this point. In a lot of ways, we're starting to have the exact same conversation each and every week. And I have said multiple times, it gets harder and harder to do this every time you're able to get it done. Alabama isn't even close to being where it needs to be. You've got to keep the foot on the gas. There's more tough tests that lie ahead. But tonight we're going to celebrate Alabama beating Tennessee because not only was it a win, it was a fairly decisive win. 37-20. I wasn't expecting that. I thought that the betting line, it was 8.5, I think is what it came out at. Ended up, I think, falling a little bit, but then here late it climbed up to 9.5. I think that had a lot to do with Jam Miller, the rumor starting to circulate that he was going to play and be available. But at the same time, just Alabama figured out a way to get it done. So appreciate all you guys for being here. I got mine. I'm not going to be able to light it. I'm in the office right now. I might partake as soon as this show is over, but I hope all of you guys are smoking them. If you are, send me a photo on Twitter at Clint R. Lamb. I will do my best job to share as many of those as possible. Once again, appreciate all you guys for being here. This is exactly anytime you get a big win like this, and even when you get the losses too, you want to hop on here. You kind of want to go through a therapy session with fellow Alabama fans, family members of ours, but we appreciate everybody who is here. We want to celebrate this massive win. We'll start with some of these comments, and just understand, guys, if you do a super chat, you automatically jump to the front of the line. We're going to get to that comment. We're going to talk about it. If you've got a question, if you've got a comment, sometimes it's just a simple roll tide, and that's totally fine too. We'll certainly bring that up and show appreciation for that. But if you got a question or anything that you want to add that you feel like would be valuable to the show, definitely send that over. I'm going to be trying to get to as many of these chats as possible, these comments as possible, but just understand that is a great way to get to the front of the line and make sure that your comment is seen and read. Brock, appreciate you. Jones, appreciate you being here, brother. Bradley, let's go. Why does Kane pressure on 3rd and 4th down? It seems to hurt more than help. We'll be talking about that. Don't worry. We're going to be getting to a lot of these comments and try to answer some of these questions. But we'll start with some of the simple takeaways. First of all, it was interesting that Michael Carroll got the start on offense at right tackle. You saw Dijon Lee get the start at corner. Don't think, this was his best game. There was some up and down moments. He's a freshman. It's a really tough offense. Tennessee's got some really good receivers. I thought he did do some good things, but overall, it was probably a struggle performance from him. I thought, Michael Carroll up and down play, but really the last time I had checked, Tennessee didn't have any sacks in this game. Alabama had 4. And based off of what we had heard about both teams' pass rushes going into this game, you would have thought it would have been the opposite. I think Alabama, for the most part, they did a good job of keeping Ty Simpson clean. I think Tennessee, a lot of the sacks that they gave up, they're a one-read offense. They get the football out of Joey Aguilar's hands fairly quickly, and yet Yanze Pierre was playing like a madman early. So, give him a lot of credit. I think he was credited, it says 2.5 sacks. I think it's either going to be 2.5 or 3 because I don't see the half sack anywhere. It says 4 total. Says that James Smith got 1, and it says Yanze Pierre got 2.5. So I think he had 3 sacks, and he was just on the quarterback quick. So just doesn't matter if Joey Aguilar if his first read was open or not. That's one way you can affect the quarterback, even against this type of offense, is apply quick pressure, and Yanze Pierre did a phenomenal job of doing just that. He played a fantastic game. Last year, Q Robinson led all edge rushers with 4 sacks, and he did that in 9 games, by the way. But this year, the leading edge sack producer is now Yanze Pierre with 4 himself, and he's done that in 7 games. So definitely think he brought it. Thought he was really impressive. It wasn't just, him, though. I thought Red Morgan played a good game on defense. I thought James Smith, for the most part, was extremely disruptive. He had that sack. Just a lot of different guys who were making an impact. And really, it was on both sides of the football. But Michael Carroll thought his play was up and down. But, I would say mostly up. The running game was atrocious in the first half. Once again, Jam Miller did get the start. We'd all wondered if he was going to play. He was ineffective. That's understandable to a large extent. Daniel Hill played really good football. We'll be talking about that. Just appreciate everything, all the contributions on both sides of the football, because there was a bunch of them. It took a lot of effort on both sides of the football. So G. Ellis, he appreciates the super chat. He said, Ryan said, I'm going to show y'all I got hands. I mean, yeah, what did his final numbers end up being? 5 catches for 87 yards on 5 targets. He also had the 16-yard carry. So he finished with over 100 total yards. And, it wasn't just him. Jeremy Bernard had a good game. Lottie Brooks, I thought he did some good things. Multiple players, once again, that's what the way this offense is designed. Isaiah Horton, he only had 1 catch, but it was, for a 2-yard touchdown. Great route down there on the goal line. So really, you're getting contributions from everybody. And there was a bunch of Tennessee fans on Twitter want to talk about how their wide receiver unit was better than Alabama's. I mean, you got the reason Isaiah Horton isn't racking up yards is not because he's not more than capable. They just have a lot of different guys they can go to in the passing game. And that was proved evident once again, just across the board. Thought that was great, but Ryan got to give him credit, because a lot of the criticism and a lot of people, you just never know what someone's going through behind the scenes. I understand that there's an expectation when guys are on the field, but he is a young kid. He's a young player. He's still trying to grow. The talent was shown through once again in this football game, though. He was a massive impact player, especially early when Alabama really needed to get some things going offensively. And, he was reliable. So give him a lot of credit. Appreciate that comment for sure. Jones, appreciate you being here, brother. Appreciate the super chat as well. Competitive character, Clint. Ty turns it over. The defense holds and the offense scores on its next 2 drives. Amazing resiliency. That is a fantastic comment. Completely agree. To me, there were 2 drives on both sides of the football that were really key, in my opinion. The first being on offense. It was the 11-play, 92-yard drive that took 6:02 off the clock to go up 7-0. I thought that kind of made a statement. Hey, you guys got a pretty lethal pass rush. We put ourselves in some poor situations on that drive, but we figured out a way to get out of them. We go down the field. We take up a ton of time, and we're going to score points tonight. Not just points, score touchdowns. That's another thing. They get down in the red area. They were scoring touchdowns. No field goals. It was 5 touchdowns for 35 points, and it was the safety. But I thought that was the first big drive or massive critical drive for Alabama. The other being the 9-play, 99-yard touchdown drive that took 5:26 in the third quarter to go back up 3 scores. That was a statement. Once again, chewed some clock, went 99 yards, 2 90-plus yard touchdown drives for Alabama on offense. That was a massive statement drive. And then on defense, it was obviously the 99-yard pick 6. That is a complete game changer given the situation. They're trying to make it a 1-score game right before the half. Yes, Alabama was getting the football to start the second half, but based off of what they did with it, it could have been a completely different game if it was 1 score at that point and you would have given Tennessee the football. So, give them a lot of credit. But then the other one was the 3-and-out that the defense created after the fumble, yeah, I guess if you want to call it that, from Ty Simpson. Just a phenomenal job by the defense going out there and saying, hey, we're not going to let this negative momentum that the offense just created affect us. We're going to go out there. We're going to stop them. We're going to get our offense the football back, and the offense is going to do something with it, and that is exactly what they did. So very cool to see that. That is complimentary football. That is what you want to see. We have not always seen it in recent years from Alabama. They did it. What is it, for 4 quarters of complimentary football? No. Some up and down play overall, but I mean, when they needed it, they were able to get it done on both sides. Give them a lot of credit. Josh Talley says, thanks for all you do, Clint. What's your opinion on how the running back rotation, going forward? I know you were very high on Hill at the beginning of the season, and then Riley blew up early. Here, first of all, appreciate you, man. Appreciate you being here. We love all of you guys. This is about to be a fun show. But, I do think obviously Jam is still, you can't really say anything about this performance because in a lot of ways, for many reasons, he probably shouldn't have even been out there. The fact that he was out there, not saying that Alabama's coaching staff did anything they weren't supposed to, but what I am saying is that he was a week removed from a big hit that put him out of the Missouri game. And he came into this game, trying to make plays for his team and probably was dealing with limited practice time all throughout the week, black no contact jersey, trying to go through that concussion protocol. That certainly probably affected him. But, moving forward, as he continues to get further removed from that concussion, I still think he's going to be your starter. I still think he deserves to get a lot of carries. But this Daniel Hill, yes, this was the Daniel Hill that we started hearing about back in the spring. And then when you saw it and just saw everything that he's capable of, I watched his high school tape, the versatility as far as being able to kind of flex and play some tight end and play some wide receiver. What he does is a pass catcher out of the backfield, being a big, powerful back. Obviously, they've talked about his pass protection. That showed up big tonight in one particular instance that comes to mind. But, he's just a guy who, for whatever reason, I think maybe injuries and not being 100%, by the time fall camp got underway, he just wasn't really the same player that he had been back in the spring. I think he's gotten healthier, and I think he's getting back to being that player. So I'm really excited about that. Alabama needed him. I thought as much as they were struggling on the ground when he came in, especially in the second half, he was a big, important piece that helped them generate some yardage and ended up having a pretty good game. Statistically speaking, 7 carries for 34 yards and a touchdown, averaged 4.9 yards per carry. But I'm telling you, a lot of that was late, where, that average was brought down. He was averaging really good yardage when Alabama really needed him to in the second half or to start the second half. So I definitely think he's, I kind of thought he was going to be RB2 going into the season. Kevin Riley did come out of nowhere. He was pretty ineffective tonight. Definitely an explosive piece. Definitely a guy that you want in that backfield. But, I think it's Jam Miller and I think it's Daniel Hill as the top two guys. And then that kind of change of pace, explosive piece that Kevin Riley can provide as an RB3, that's probably what you're going to end up getting, sooner rather than later, moving forward. Corey Banco, thank you for the $5 super chat. We appreciate you. Why do you think Ryan doesn't call shot plays with this team? I remember Penix chunking it deep rather often, still waiting for a complete game. I understand the frustration if you watch some of those Ty Simpson throws. I think probably if there was one area of his game that needs to continue to improve, it's the deep ball accuracy. Very accurate over the middle of the field, very accurate as far as the 10 to 20-yard range, probably one of the best quarterbacks in college football in that range. And it's not that he doesn't have – I don't think he has an elite arm. I think his mechanics and the technical side of things allows him to generate some torque, but I think every throw is pretty much maximized. He puts everything he's got into his throws. But, I'm not saying he has poor arm strength. He can make all the throws pretty much, but just from, it's not like he's just flicking the wrist and he's just, able to put it, 50, 55 yards downfield with pinpoint accuracy. I think there's a lot of effort that goes into the more vertical shots and just that having to put that effort in. Probably the accuracy is, kind of suffers as a result. But when you watch him, guys, he's playing really good football. Was he perfect tonight? Absolutely not. And that one throw in the fourth quarter down in the red area, ill-advised throw. You cannot do that. He had Jeremy right there available. It was another throw where it's like you're getting greedy. There's no reason to take some of those chances. And it really could have given Tennessee the kind of crease that they needed to kind of start to claw back into the game. Fortunately, they weren't able to capitalize on it. And, I guess the rest is history. But Michael Penix was a great deep ball thrower. This offense wants to be a vertical shot offense. I just don't think with where Ty's at, you're probably getting that enough. And understand that they're still pretty effective offensively, especially now that they're starting to capitalize when they get down in the red area with touchdowns rather than settling for field goals. And with the way the field goal kicker has struggled, sometimes he doesn't make that field goal. And you come away from a pretty good offensive drive with 0 points. The fact that they're capitalizing, I mean, do you want to change a whole lot on that front? You would love it to be a complete offense that can do absolutely everything, and I do think it's got the ability to do that eventually. But it's kind of, it's still working some kinks out. I know we're 7 games in, but running the football has been inconsistent. The vertical game has been inconsistent, but despite all that, they're getting pretty good offensive play. And I want to point out that overall, there were some obvious passing situations for Ty Simpson. It wasn't like the offense stayed on schedule all night, and that helped protect the offensive line. The offensive line had to stand in there and keep him protected. And it wasn't just the offensive line, it was the running backs and the tight ends and everybody else. And they did that for the most part. So was really proud of that performance against a fierce pass rush. But Ty Simpson, I love his ability to move in the pocket while still going through his progressions. Like, he's not one of those guys that buys time and then everything. Sometimes he's able to maintain the pocket or maintain himself going through the progressions, and just the defense having to hang on for that long, it's damn near impossible. So, Corey, hope I answered that question. I mean, I do think it's an element of this offense that they want to have. I don't think they have it enough right now, but I do think they'll continue to work on that. Perry, thank you for the $5 super chat, brother. Play calling was odd tonight. 3-down line on D and weird run calls / trick plays on offense. Pretty sure all 3-and-out started with a run play. I mean, this is what you want them to do. I mean, I know that everybody's kind of frustrated with the run game, but if they don't run it, then we're all saying, why don't you try running it? We get it. We've gotten on to Ryan Grubb for both situations. When he runs and it doesn't work, we're like, why are you running it? If he's like, okay, fine, I'll just throw the football every play. 2 drives into that, you're like, hey, why aren't you why aren't you running the football? And so I think that there has to be a commitment to it. When the numbers are there for you to run the football, you've got to try to make opposing defenses pay for that. And Alabama, at times, they were able to do that. They're still not doing it even remotely consistently enough. But I don't want everybody to just say, hey, let's not run the football anymore after what they have done the last couple of games prior to tonight. And you saw some flashes of it. There's no reason to bail on it at this point. It's still a staple of this offense. They want to be able to attack defenses with that. Sometimes it's not going to be there, and that might be your point. Hey, if it's not there, if it's just not, you're not on that front, why are you sticking with it? Why are you starting? I think it's just trying to keep Tennessee off balance as much as possible. And that's just how offensive play callers work. When you've got the guys where you should be able to run it, and if they would have abandoned the run completely, or for the most part, I mean, you wouldn't have seen Daniel Hill really start to get things going in the second half. And I think that helped you clock and everything else. So, I mean, I was pretty fine with the way things worked out. Some of the trick plays, like the double pass or the attempted double pass, first of all, phenomenal play by Jeremy Bernard. I mean, just the fact that he was so far behind the line of scrimmage and he turned that into the game that he did, remarkable. Didn't like the call, though, despite the fact that it ended up working out for Alabama. Just felt like it was one of those moments where it's like, I mean, I get that at that point in the game, things weren't really clicking offensively and you're trying to get a spark or something going, catch them off balance. But I just think there's safer place to do that. So wasn't a huge fan of that. But overall, I think Ryan Grubb is going to have these periods in games where maybe it's just he's not feeling it. But for the most part, I mean, he's doing a phenomenal job this season. So, I mean, yeah, we're going to complain. But, I mean, I don't know. Superfly, appreciate the $4.99 super chat. Kane Womack was in his bag tonight. Exactly what we needed from the defense. Roll tide roll. I mean, a lot of people are going to look at 410 yards of offense from Tennessee, and they're going to think, hey, Tennessee had a pretty good night offensively. They're going to look at things like penalties and think Alabama, what did Alabama finish with? 7 for 59. That's actually not terrible. Once again, had fewer penalties in this game than their opponent. That's starting to become a little bit more of a trend. But, a lot of those penalties came late for Alabama, a lot of them. And I think Greg McElroy actually talked about that on the broadcast. I was listening to it as I was putting together the stuff for the show. I think he did mention that. But, you talk about 20 points from Tennessee. I mean, this is an offense. And I said on Twitter, I could see the way that the Georgia Ole Miss game was playing out was kind of what we were starting to think was going to happen with the Alabama-Tennessee game. As far as neither defense really being able to get many stops, it's about those one or two key stops. And then I started thinking about, like, well, that's possible, but it could also possibly be the 2021 Ole Miss game. If you remember in 2020, there was that 63-48 shootout. It was one stop where Lane Kiffin settled for a field goal that was able to create the separation in that game. And I guarantee you, in hindsight, I think it was a 4th and 8 or a 4th and 7. And I mean, he probably wishes he would have gone for it, because the second he gave Alabama even a crease, they created a double-digit lead, and the game was over at that point. But after seeing those offensive fireworks in that game, the following year, going into that Ole Miss game, the Rebels have been averaging like 52.6 points per game over the first 3. And, we all thought Alabama's got a heck of an offense. Bryce Young leading the way. They have some good receivers. They're going to score points, but it's going to end up being a track meet. And then Alabama goes out there and pretty much hits them in the mouth, gets up 28-0 at halftime, end up winning the game, I think 42-21. But it just ended up being a pretty dominant win for Alabama. And I did acknowledge, hey, I could actually see that being a possibility too. Now, it didn't work out where Alabama just gets this crazy first half lead, but from a score perspective, in some ways it did, where it's like this super high-powered offense going against a defense that in the minds of many has been struggling quite a bit. We all thought, they're going to be able to score a lot of points, put up a lot of yards, and they did have their way at times. But for the most part, I thought Alabama's defense played pretty well. So, Superfly, I agree with you. I think they made plays when they needed to. I would have loved to have seen a little bit more consistency from Yanze Pierre, as far as you're not going to get 12 sacks. I mean, he had 3 in the first quarter, at least 2 in the first quarter. So it wasn't you're not expecting 8 to 12 sacks in the game. I just mean from he was really disruptive early, very, very disruptive. He was disruptive pretty late. He got another couple of pressures that I noticed. I'll have to go back and watch between those two periods, but it just seems like there for a while, Joey Aguilar was getting quite a bit of time to throw the football back there, and I'll be curious to see what caused that. So appreciate the super chat. Like I said, if anybody wants to get in here and get their comment to the top of the line, that's a good way to do it. Let's see. So, yeah, just Jacob. I don't think Jam was 100%. Hill looked good, closed out the game nicely, I think is what you're trying to say. I mean, I agree. And I don't think that Jam Miller's job is not at risk, in my opinion. I was one of those people in the offseason with everything I was hearing about Hill and the way that I was starting to like him. I mean, I made some sort of comment of, hey, I wouldn't be completely shocked if Jam continued to be the Jam that we had seen through his first 3 years at Alabama. I could see a scenario based off of what we're hearing about Daniel Hill, where Daniel ends up being the lead horse in that stable. And then once really fall camp hit, it became very apparent very quickly that this was the Jam Miller show. He gets hurt, has to miss the beginning of the season, finally starts getting his stride or hitting his stride after his return looked pretty decent, better than a lot of people think against Georgia, was great against Vanderbilt, was great against Missouri. And then, of course, he was dealing with that concussion that limited him all week. So him not being 100%, Kevin Riley wasn't an answer tonight, at least. But you had Daniel Hill, and so you were able to get something done. That was really encouraging to see. The BD James, appreciate you, brother. Always a very loyal listener and follower. We appreciate you very much. He says Hill is a bruiser, and his pass pro is coming along too. I thought the pass pro was important. I mean, I'm right there with you, man. It just felt like that when Alabama needed, Tennessee was trying to bring some heat at various points in that game, and I thought he had a couple. One really stands out, but I think a couple of pass blocking reps where he stuck his nose in there and was able to give Ty some time. Ty, granted, on that one that I'm thinking of, he didn't do anything with it. He tried to escape right, ended up, I think, throwing the football away, but great job by Daniel Hill to do that. King Creasy, he says Cavante Henry, number 14, got in. He absolutely did. That was on my notes. He got some snaps on defense, and then at the end of the game, when it became very obvious that Tennessee was going to be having to throw the football, they put in that dime package that they're notorious for in those obvious passing situations. And you had Keon Keeley and you had Henry along with LT Overton. And I think Nakai Hill Green was the lone linebacker on the field by that point. And and not Deontay Lawson. Could be wrong on that, but I know that the 3 edge or defensive linemen were LT Overton, Henry, and Keon Keeley. So Keon didn't play really throughout the game. There wasn't a whole lot of just straight up obvious passing situations for Alabama's defense. But when they got in those situations late, once again, when it's like, hey, don't worry about stopping the run, just go get the quarterback or go affect the quarterback. Keon Keeley can do that at a pretty high level. Didn't really do anything that really stood out that at least I noticed through the first watch through. But, I mean, his role is pretty clear right now. And I think that he'll only continue to get more and more involved as he continues to kind of show improvement on, against the run. So definitely agree there. So got another super chat. Iceman, appreciate the $5 super chat. Roll Tide, Clint, thoughts on Daniel Hill's performance tonight? Yeah, I mean, he's playing good football right now. He looks like he's healthy. He looks big. He looks powerful. The contact balance on a couple of those runs, like there was one where I really thought, I mean, he had already picked up, I think, 10 or 11 yards. I really thought he was going to stay up and keep going. I mean, he falls, the defender's hanging onto his legs. I mean, his ability to break tackles and really provide a physical presence, like Alabama really needed that because that's kind of soul-taking. The defense had been very frustrated with what they had been giving up or allowing as far as Ty Simpson in the passing game. It's a lot you got to worry about, but the one thing Tennessee was able to do for at least a majority of the first half was we can stop the run. We're going to force as much of this on the passing game, make them as one-dimensional as possible. Yes, they're comfortable there, but you also don't want them to be able to have their way with both, where you're able to run at will and throw at will. So you try to take at least one of them away. When they really stop being able to do that consistently, I think that's where a lot of the frustrations with Tennessee's defense started to creep in. And then Alabama was able to really start to get things going. Really rocky start to the second half, and we really need to talk about that here in just a minute. But when they were able to get things going, I thought they did a phenomenal job. Daniel Hill was the piece there. I mean, you look across, Richard Young didn't get any opportunities. Kevin Riley was ineffective. You look at Jam Miller, he got 12 carries. I mean, they still got him double-digit carries. Thought that was good, but for 15 yards and a touchdown. So just did absolutely nothing with it. Had one catch for 5 yards. Hill also had a 16-yard catch as well, by the way. So we had 16 yards through the air. He had 34 yards on the ground for a total of 50 on 8 touches. That's the impact you want. So Iceman, I think he did a great job in all phases as a pass catcher, as a runner, and in pass protection. That's what you want. So I was very encouraged by his performance, and I'm hoping that I'm hoping that can continue. Danko Hawkins, the $5 super chat. I appreciate you, brother. And then Superfly with another $4.99. Always appreciate those. Bend but don't break is incredibly stressful, but with our high-powered offense, it is working just fine. It is stressful. I mean, it just feels like, they finally take a 3-score lead and going into halftime, the pick 6 from Zabian Brown, a critical moment in that football game. I mean, and that's just one of the most obvious slap you in the face, major moments in a football game. Doesn't take any analysis to see how big that was, but just, the fact that they were able to take that kind of lead into halftime, and then you're getting the football, go out there and make a statement, really take it to Tennessee. Hey guys, I'm telling you, give us one more. If we can go out there and we can score once more, we could take a 30-7 lead, take about 5-6 minutes off the clock. It's midway through the third quarter, and we got a 23-point lead. It would be demoralizing for Tennessee. And just their inability to do that in a lot of these games, they did get a 17-point win, give them a lot of credit for that. But as far as just straight up domination, those are the opportunities where the foot can go on the throat and it's over. They're not doing it. And just have that killer instinct a little bit more. We're kind of nitpicking a little bit here, but overall, if they can just learn to do that, this is already a really, really good football team, but it's going to go to a whole different level. So it is stressful. You just hate the fact that, okay, they cut the lead to 10. Still a double-digit lead. That's still good. I didn't think they should have gone for 2 there. I thought it was way too early in the football game. I understand wanting to try to get it to 1 score but but that just to me, it told me they didn't really trust their defense, and really just their team in general to be able to overcome 2 scores. But it just gave Alabama, it kind of handed them a little bit of momentum back after they had just allowed a touchdown. I didn't like that. So, well, I said I didn't like that. It obviously benefited Alabama. Had that been Alabama in that situation, I would have not agreed with that call. So, good comment there. Mattress Matt with a $10 super chat. Appreciate you. You think Daniel Hill's lack of success early in the season was a fluke? Same with Richard Young. We have no O-line. Young hasn't been given a big enough body of work. Look, I'm going to go ahead and tell you, Matt, these guys earn their reps in practice. They earn their snaps on the field in practice. So if Richard Young wants a bigger workload, be more productive, be more effective, and be better than the other guys in that room, Tuesday and Wednesday really is a majority of that. Go out there and make a statement. And you see new guys all the time. Henry played this week out of nowhere. Cavante Henry. Why? Probably because he did some good things in practice. Keon Keeley started to get a role. He's showing things in practice. So as much as I know everybody really wanted Richard Young to be a massive part of this backfield, and he showed flashes last year and limited late opportunities, it's just at this point, you can't. I mean, Daniel Hill, you can look at it and say, well, I mean, Jam wasn't overly effective and Kevin Riley wasn't overly effective and Daniel Hill, was pretty good, but like, why don't you give Richard Young some opportunities? I mean, they're putting the guys in the field at that position, in my opinion, who are earning it. And I think they got the right combination. I think your top 3 guys, and AK Deer, I think is going to be a part of this backfield in the future. I really do. But I think right now, I think the combination of Jam Miller and Daniel Hill and Kevin Riley is that kind of third guy, change of pace, bring a little bit, see if you can get some explosive stuff going, get him to break one. Because if he can ever get some space on one of these runs, he's going to go from taking some no gains and some smaller gains and maybe turn into a home run. But at the same time, do I think that Daniel Hill's lack of success early in the season was a fluke? I don't think so. I think he just wasn't 100% healthy. I think that for whatever reason, and Ryan Grubb brought this up, they just weren't really seeing the guy that they had seen back in the spring. And part of that is probably health related. But, I think he's starting to become that guy for one reason or another, whether it is health or maybe he's getting his mind right. But I'm telling you, it was not a shock to me what Ryan Grubb said this week as far as how high they were on him exiting the spring. That is what I was hearing. That is why I was on this show telling people, I'm telling you, I think this guy's going to be RB2. And just like a lot of other guys, when I actually saw him out there against Florida State, it was just like, this isn't what I had seen. Like, where did this come from? And, I'd started to hear rumblings. Obviously Ryan Grubb was saying some things in some of his press conferences in fall camp that made me start tempering my expectations a little bit. But overall, you just knew that he has a lot of ability. So as long as he was healthy and he could get his mind where it needed to be, you knew he could help this offense. That's exactly what he did tonight. Thought he did that to a lesser extent last week. He's starting to show some flashes as well. They've got to get more consistency from their run game. It's not there enough. If they can get it there with what they have in the passing game and the strain that they can put on you that way, this offense is going to be a lot of fun to watch. Jeff Moore with a $4.99 super chat. Appreciate you. And Jeff with another $4.99 super chat asking your thoughts on overall defensive play. It's good and bad. It's kind of been par for the course the same way it has been all season, where there's some really good moments. Like they're starting to generate sacks. Everybody was a huge talking point for everybody in the offseason. Hey, you came on. We need more sacks, brother. You got to apply more pressure. Well, they had 4 tonight, and they did a good job of that last week. They're starting to do what they need to do on that front. I thought Dijon Lee up and down. It's his first career start. There's some nerves there. He's being asked to cover one of the most dynamic passing attacks, not only in just the SEC, but in the country in general. And, he's going on some of those reps against a future, probably first-round draft pick and Chris Brazzell, who's got size and length and athleticism to match his. And, he battled. He did some good things as far as coming up on those quick passes and being physical, but he also was out of position on multiple occasions. I thought Damani showed some physicality late, but the penalties, I mean, just pretty frustrating, from him. But he's a guy who essentially got benched for this game, is what it feels like. And he seemed to respond well when he came in late. Like he was ready to get after some people and earn that job back. That's how you want to see a guy respond who is put in that position. But I thought James Smith played pretty well. Deontay Lawson, he's coming off of a major knee injury last year that ended the season, and he has gotten better and more explosive, kind of recapturing form a little bit. But to expect him to be the old Deontay Lawson, he's getting closer, in my opinion. But just tonight was a little bit of a setback. Tennessee's got good running backs. They run the football hard. They've had a lot of success on the ground. Sometimes good players make good plays. So while it was frustrating, and I thought that was just a piss poor effort by the defense on that long touchdown run, and really didn't need to happen at that moment in the game. Overall, I think the defense played pretty decently, but there's definitely still some things that need to be cleaned up. But when you start talking about what we like in their secondary, their pass defense, I mean, Joey Aguilar, a lot of when you talk about non-garbage time stats, probably closer to 200 yards. He finished with 268, but I mean, some of that was just late. Now Alabama playing prevent defense and giving up a lot of easy chunk plays, but one touchdown, one interception. I mean, guys, this is one of the more dynamic passing attacks in college football. And Alabama gave up 20 points and they gave up 268 yards while, that was 64% completion percentage. They turned them over once, which was a massive turnover. I think overall they played pretty well defensively, even though it's like a lot of these games recently where it's like, man, I'm going to go and watch the tape and I'm going to see some things they got to continue to work on and try to get cleaned up. But once again, one of the big talking points was the pass rush, and I feel like they're doing a much better job of that now. Let's get down here to some of these other comments. Matt, appreciate the $4.99 super chat. He says, can we all take a moment to acknowledge the greatness of Jeremy Bernard? Dude is a straight baller who is just so clutch. Great win. I mean, it seemed pretty evident early on that Alabama was really going to try to get Ryan Williams going. They knew, like last year against Tennessee, he absolutely cooked these guys. He got open a lot. The quarterback couldn't get him the football. One of the worst, most off nights that I ever saw from Jalen Milroe. And it wasn't there. And, Ryan could have had a much better statistical performance against Tennessee last year than he did. And they knew that this guy's got talent and you want to get his confidence back up. So they start featuring him early. He's making some incredible plays. Jeremy has been kind of that guy in a lot of these football games where they really feature him early and get him involved. But I thought he did a great job of taking a back seat. But then when they needed some punches, in the really late first half and early second half, after things didn't start great on offense, they started to rely on Jeremy. And I'm telling you, once again, his ability to turn what should have been a massive negative play on the trick attempt, the double pass trick attempt, into a pretty good gain. A first down, 10 plus yards, incredible stuff from him, and just breaking tackles and really guys across the board. I thought Isaiah Horton only got one target, but he made sure it was impactful at being a touchdown on a great route run. Rico Scott getting his limited opportunities. I think he only had the one catch, but it went for 11 yards and a touchdown. And his ability when he gets down to the goal line, if they get him on the perimeter, they can get him the football. He turns into a big physical running back. He's always physical, but he reaches a different gear when he's put in those situations. And he's going to drag people into the end zone. And it's pretty fun to watch. And I think it's pretty tempo setting from an energy standpoint. So, just across the board, the debate between Tennessee's wide receivers and Alabama's, to me, it's not much of a debate. I have a lot of respect for Tennessee's guys, but Alabama's runs deep. From a numbers standpoint, Tennessee's got 4 scholarship healthy receivers. They're having to feature all of them. So all these numbers that they're putting up, a lot of that's because they have no choice. Alabama can run 5 when Derek Meadows is healthy, maybe 6. I think Jalen Hell can be a contributor if they really needed him to. I think Cole Adams could be a contributor if they needed him to. But talking about 5, 6, 7 deep, I mean, Alabama is incredible at wide receiver. And German Bernard, once again, the way you can use him, the way you can strain defenses and break tackles. I'll be curious to see what his yards after catch were, because not only did he generate some yards after the catch, but he also broke some pretty key tackles, turned what should have been some short gains into some medium gains that really started to spark the offense a little bit. So I love what they got from him overall. Appreciate it. Let's see what else we got. Yeah, GSP Scott, Ryan Williams had a great game also. Yes, he did. Led the team in receiving yards, tied for a team lead, 5 catches and 25 yards after the catch. Oh, by the way, it's already got the yards after catch for Jeremy Bernard. It was 41 yards. That's really good. That's solid. He made some plays. And then you got guys like, CD Morgan coming in next year. And I'm telling you, one thing, I've said this already, but I'll reiterate it here. This coaching staff has proven, doesn't matter if they got 50 guys in the wide receiver room and all of them are absolute dudes. If CD Morgan comes in and he proves that he is ready to play and ready to play winning football immediately, they'll find a way to get him on the field and they'll find a way to get him targets. So there's no concern, in my opinion, as far as, hey, is this guy, it's all going to be on his shoulders, like it is with all of these guys. Understand there's no favorites. No one's trying to hold anybody down. If you're not playing and you're not getting the snaps and the opportunities that you want, you can directly affect that by playing better football in practice, earning your stripes, earning your opportunities. They have proven this time and time again with so many guys. If you're proving it in practice that they can trust you, they'll go out there and trust you on game days. Plain, still smoking my cigar, baby. Hey, haven't got a chance to chief on mine a little bit, but I'm definitely going to. I'm going to step outside and at least get a couple puffs whenever we hop off of here. Let's see. Alex Wilder, who gets your game ball, Clint? Ooh, that's a good question. Also, by the way, Jeremy Bernard with a 49 yards on the ground. Obviously, the one was absolutely huge, but he was definitely an impact player both on the ground and through the air. Man, I need some time to think about that. I mean, the Xavier Brown pick 6 was huge. You talk about a singular play. I don't know if any other bigger play was made. I thought Todd Simpson did well. I thought Daniel Hill was unexpected somewhat and really needed. So as far as stepping up when they needed him to, but game ball, Jan Zapier probably. And a lot of his biggest impact came early, but he set the tone. I mean, just his ability to apply pressure early and often really let Tennessee's offense know this isn't going to be the cakewalk you think. You've thrown the football over everybody else. Georgia could not generate a pass rush against your offense, but we're going to today. And his name's going to be Jan Zapier. And if you forget about LT Overton and you forget about James Smith and some of these other guys, they're going to make you pay for it too. But Jan Zapier is where it starts. Alabama needs that dude that just strikes fear into opposing offenses from a pass rushing perspective. And I think to an extent, LT Overton does that, but I really like him if he can be more of a complementary piece in that regard. Jan Zapier, I'm telling you, man, I've said it multiple times. He had been playing really good football. Tonight was kind of his coming out party, in my opinion. He has put himself on the map, and he is going to be a massive problem for opposing offenses moving forward, because they weren't easy sacks. They weren't handed to you, it left unblocked, or it was him running through the face of the offensive guard or beating the tackle, the left tackle inside. Lance Hurd had been playing pretty good football, guys. I mean, I think he was playing at an all SEC caliber level, and Jan Zapier was getting wins against him. And he was applying pressure off the corner, turning the corner. Like, he was doing it in a variety of ways. And just, that's big for this defense. Big for this defense. So let's see. Guys, this is some of the worst nitpicking I've ever seen. I've heard in 50 years of being a Bama fan. Beat Tennessee by 17, show some love. Look, I've showed a lot of love. I mean, I really have tried to, but I'm going to tell you, after what I saw against Florida State, what I saw anytime we started doing nothing but showing love and, hey, everything's good, great, and wonderful. We're not going to point out any of the negatives. Everything's great. You get a big win on the scoreboard. you know what? Just let's award you the national championship in mid-October. They decide to go out there and completely lay an egg. And this is with them having this is the one game on the schedule currently outside of Eastern Illinois. Oh no, Auburn too, but I mean Auburn's different. Rivalry game, Jordan Hare Stadium. Everybody knows it's a massive game. Do not think Alabama's going to take them lightly whatsoever. But this against South Carolina is the type of game that they lose. Have they struggled against top 25 opponents? They've lost one under Kalen during the Kalen DeBoer era, and it was against Tennessee last year in Knoxville. And that was because the offense played an abysmal football game. The defense actually played, at least in the first half, extremely well. So I'm looking at this and I'm saying, for the benefit of Alabama, we're going to celebrate. There's a lot to celebrate. There's a lot of great. We're talking great about Daniel Hill and Yanze Pierre and Ryan Williams coming on strong. But if you think I'm just going to ignore a lot of the problems that we saw tonight too, just because they got a 17-point win, we can do both. It's okay. And granted, the 24-hour rule, if everybody wants to enjoy it, that's fine. I'm just trying to point out that it wasn't perfect. There's still things that you can get better because, I mean, I've done the whole let's buy in to all the hype. And I feel like in some ways I've been a contributor to some of the letdown that we've seen. So I'm trying to do my best to prevent that from happening moving forward. If you don't like it, I apologize. Not everybody's going to like how I go about it, but that's the thought process. And I hope people understand that. I'm not trying to be too negative or anything. I'm trying to be as real as possible. Let's see. Kit asked, does Auburn start game planning for Bama this week? I don't even know can someone hop in the chat and give me the final score of that game? Because I haven't had a chance to see it. I was way too busy watching good football. Let's see. I would be curious to see what that final score was. On Target Firearms Instruction says still haven't played our best game yet. I agree. Think they're getting close. I think they're starting to do some really good things more consistently, but they got to get, there was just certain areas that you felt good about. I felt good. The inability to get a consistent push in the run game from the offensive line. Sure. You'd like to see that be better, but I thought from a pass protection standpoint with what Tennessee was bringing in this football game, dynamic passing game on offense, are able to run the football extremely effectively. Has a good offensive line that allowed 4 sacks in 6 games. Alabama had 4 sacks tonight. In the previous 6 games, Tennessee had allowed 4 total sacks. So Tennessee had a really good pass blocking offensive line. The offense kind of helps protect them as well. But then, on the other side, just Alabama being able to keep Ty Simpson upright. Like a lot of these concerns that we had going into this game, Alabama did a good job. The only one they didn't was Tennessee didn't have they had a good, decent run defense, but it wasn't elite. So it wasn't like, oh man, we're just, Alabama won't be able to run the football against them at all. We were worried about the pass rush. That was the primary. So from that standpoint, offensive line did a good job of keeping Ty Simpson clean. You look at what they did on the other side of the football. The only thing they didn't do was stop the run as well as they needed to at all. Bishop had 14 carries for 123 yards and 2 touchdowns with a long of 44. Averaged 8.8 yards per carry. Star Thomas, the backup, had 3 carries for 26 yards. He averaged 8.7 yards per carry. So overall, run defense was not great. But otherwise, I think you limited their wide receivers about as good as you probably could have, and you made Joey Aguilar uncomfortable. 4 sacks and an interception. That's pretty solid. Kyle, appreciate you, brother. So, hey, it's Rambo says SC is a game Bama can easily lose. This was the type of game that they did lose last year. This was the one. So while there have been 1,000 reasons as to why we have said, hey, Alabama can lose this week, Missouri's really good, and Vanderbilt, hey, we've seen what Diego Pavia can do, and man, you've got to go to Athens and play Georgia. This was the type of game coming up this week. There's plenty of time to talk about that. Not going to harp on it too much tonight. But this was the type of game that Alabama lost last year. And this is the type of game that Alabama lost at the beginning of the season. They didn't take, in my opinion, Florida State seriously enough, and Florida State made them pay for it. And it was at their house. Oklahoma was on the road. A lot of these are away from Bryant-Denny as well. Haven't really seen them lay an egg too much in Bryant-Denny. So, having to go to Columbia. Don't know what's going on with Dylan Stewart. I did hear that he had to go to the locker room earlier. They're really effective pass rusher. I'll be curious to see how that ends up looking. We'll talk about that more this week. But Lenore Sellers not playing great football right now, but he's still a dynamic quarterback with legs, and their backs are against the wall. And what's a great way to get things kind of back on track? Are you going to the playoffs? No, you are not. But a great way to at least make your season somewhat respectable and get a lot closer to what people were expecting. Go out there and beat Alabama. That's playing great football right now, coming off of 4 straight top 20 wins. They're going to get South Carolina's best game, I can assure you. And so that's why we're going to continue to say, hey, it's great. Keep your foot on the gas. We will all do nothing but celebrate all of the pointing things out and things that they can do better and stuff. We won't do that when they win the national championship. This show, when we hop on here, if they do that, you won't hear an ounce of, man, they need to get better on this front. It is going to be nothing but positive and nothing but celebration. But until then, I'm not doing it. I'm not buying into it. I've been there, done that, and hadn't gone well. So I think someone asked for what my score prediction was. I'd said 35-27 because Jimmy had said 35-28. And so I just didn't want to have the same as him. I had the same as him. But as soon as he said it, I was like, well, we got to be different. We can't be the same. So that actually ended up helping me a little bit because I ended up being closer than he was, but we were right in the same ballpark. Lance Hunter said I predicted 38-20, pretty close. That's really close. I would love to hear your reasoning behind that. That is a very close score prediction. And granted, as I said, I think that I did say prior to the game that I could see the 2021 Ole Miss type of outcome, but I don't know that I expected it to look quite like that. So I'd love to hear what the thought process was going in. So IMB number 1 says, if you have eyeballs and saw the game, then y'all should know it was far from perfect. There's a lot we can improve on to reach our ultimate goal. And that's the thing. Hey, beating Tennessee is great. It's now 2-2, right? The last 4 years, everybody kept saying 2 out of the last 3 Tennessee's won. Everybody said again, Kalen DeBoer against Tennessee, 0-1. Well, he's evened things up. They've evened up the last 4 years. That's always great. But Alabama wants to get to the playoffs, and Alabama wants to compete and win a national championship. And you've got a team that's good enough to do it. This isn't wishful thinking. They're not too far off, but they can't get relaxed. You love making it past all of these games because you do understand that maybe, especially if it's against a good football team, a really good football team, you might still have a mulligan, but don't even entertain that. If you can go at 11-1, go 11-1. It's difficult. Do I think they're going to? Probably not. But hell, why not? At this point, just keep it going. What you're doing is working, but just I don't want anybody getting complacent. So let's see. Walt Albright, I love this team. I'm right there with you, Walt. I think this team right now, the closeness, the want to from all these guys to get better. Guys are stepping up. You lose Quay Russaw to an injury, and you got Yanze Pierre becoming an absolute superstar, one of the best players on your entire defense. James Smith has to miss a half. That's okay. Jeremiah Beeman has to miss the rest of the season, unfortunately. That's okay. Tim Keenan's not available to start the beginning of the season. That's okay. Jam Miller, same thing. And then he had the concussion. Ryan Williams is missing time. Every step of the way, they've had guys step up. It hadn't always been perfect or pretty, but this team has a bunch of guys that want to win. They want to see each other do well. One thing that I've heard that is 100, it's not coach speak. It's not just, saying it to say it. One thing I've heard constantly about this team is they are all pulling for each other. The quarterbacks have each other's backs. The running backs have each other's backs. If Jam Miller goes out there and rips off a 40-yard gain, the entire running back room feels like we all just ripped off a 40-yard gain. This is what you want, especially in a selfish NIL run to the transfer portal era. This is the type of mentality you want from your team. Who are we looking at? And granted, we don't know all the information. I'm not saying they don't exist, but how many guys do we know are, this guy's a problem? This guy's a diva. He's demanding more touches. I'm not hearing a whole lot of that. Just guys are pulling for each other. So, this is we're 7 games in. There's still a lot of football that needs to be played, but I love this team as well. Love what the coaching staff is doing overall. They acknowledge where they're screwing up. They seem to be trying to mix some things up and do some things better. So, Jeff Moore, great job. This is my favorite Alabama channel. We appreciate you guys, every single one of you. Jeff, thank you so much. We're not stopping until this is the biggest Alabama channel out there. And this is a place that you guys can escape and talk football. You know, we like to have fun and joke and kid around sometimes, but as far as like getting way off topic and talking about a bunch of other stuff, that's just not what we do here. Totally fine that others want to do that because a lot of people enjoy that. Here, I'm a ball talker. I want to talk ball. And we just appreciate all of you guys who hop on here. The comments tonight and pretty much every time we go live, they're great. Give us a lot of great talking points. I can assure you, y'all make this channel. It is not us, it is y'all, and we thank y'all so much. Jeremy Freeman says Formby played well. Yeah, I thought early in the game, I thought he started off struggling. Michael Carroll got the start at right tackle. I think the next series he was replaced by Formby, and I want to say for at least 2 or 3 series straight, Formby was the right tackle. And I thought there were some up and down moments in there, but I think he settled in pretty nicely. And when you talk about the offensive line, really not a ton of pressure given up, no sacks. Formby is certainly a part of that because he played a lot of snaps. Will Sanders started the second half at left guard. So I guess we should talk about the offensive line. Caden Proctor starts at left tackle. Gino Vandermark, who had been playing right guard, he starts at left guard and plays Cam Dewberry. Parker Brailsford's obviously the starting center. Right guard was Jaden Roberts. We've been waiting on him. He obviously got banged up. I would be curious to see or hear what's going on with that, but he ended up being the starter right guard, and Michael Carroll was at right tackle. A lot of changes. That's 3 new players in game 7 without injuries who are new starters or playing a position that they have played in the past and seen some snaps even this year at. But Gino had been starting at right guard. Now he's playing left guard or starting at left guard. That was interesting. But then to start the second half, Carroll was back at right tackle, but Will Sanders got the start at left guard, and Gino Vandermark was at right guard. Thought that was interesting. Really didn't see anything from Will Sanders that stood out one way or another. I'll have to go back and specifically watch him. But overall, I thought the offensive line, from a pass protection standpoint, played pretty well. And I don't know, I'm sure some of it, the lack of the run game success was on the offensive line. But sometimes it's the tight ends, on the outside. Sometimes it's running backs not seeing their holes. Sometimes it's just the defense selling out, run blitzes and things like that. So I'll have to go see exactly where things went wrong against the run or trying to run the football. But that's definitely something that I think is coming along pretty nicely. Let's see. Lance says, I think Aguilar is overhyped. He's a good football player. He makes a lot of plays. He takes a lot of risk. He makes a lot of unnecessary throws. On the 2-point conversion. It's another one. I mean, Dijon Lee, if he could have returned that would have been 2 points for Alabama. And it was Vaz, what are you doing? We said all week going in, he's going to give you some opportunities, especially if you can put him in some uncomfortable situations. And I think Jan Zapier did a phenomenal job of doing just that early, letting him know it's going to be an uncomfortable afternoon for you. We haven't gotten a lot of sacks this year, but we're a disruptive defense, and this is not going to be as easy as you think it's going to be, and it's certainly not going to be as easy as it has been against other teams, including Georgia, because Georgia don't get after you like we're going to get after you. That set the tone for me. As far as how I thought Aguilar ended up playing, I thought he started pressing a little bit, but, I think overall he's a really good quarterback. Jones, I don't know the exact number, but it felt like Alabama had 7 or 8 tackles for loss in this game, which helped offset some of the rush defense shortcomings. Yeah, I can tell you right now, 8 tackles for loss. So, yeah, you were right there in a pretty close range. Obviously, Jan Zapier had 3 of those, but Nakai Hill-Green had 2. I thought he played pretty good football. Was impressed with some of what he did. James Smith had 1, which was obviously the sack. Damani Jackson had 1. Dijon Lee had 1. So, was it a whole lot of front 7 stuff? I thought the secondary came up and made tackles better, on some of those quick passes out to the perimeter. They got downhill and got guys wrapped up and tackled and prevented a lot of those short passes to turn into favorable situations. That was definitely good to see. PZ asked, does Dijon's pick on the 2-point conversion not get registered as an interception? No, it is not. Unfortunate. We'll all remember it. But I don't know what the logic is throwing a jump ball on a 6'4", maybe even a little taller than that corner. This wasn't last year. This wasn't this wasn't a Jalen Milroe type of situation trying to get it to Ryan Williams. 6'4". That's interesting. Let's see. We'll keep it going. Peasy, and I love that you're bringing this up because I touched on it very quickly, but I should have talked about it more. Red Morgan stepped up. I hope Deshaun can get refocused and stop falling asleep when he's caught in one-on-ones. I don't really know what's going on with Deshaun. I think the play, like many other guys, and I use this phrase all the time, but it's up and down. But Red Morgan, I mean, a physical, scrappy presence. This was the guy that we had heard about and seen to an extent at various points last season. A lot of want to, very hard worker. The size was just really beating him up and hurting him at times last year. And then this year, just, kind of with where they were at in the secondary, and they kind of needed his help out on the perimeter with all the injuries back in the spring. He gets moved out there. A lot of that's Deshaun Jones and the way he performed at Husky after he was moved there last year with Red. If Red Morgan would have been a second or third year player, more than likely, he would have been trusted to be the starter. And Deshaun Jones probably never gets that opportunity to slide inside. But they really needed a veteran presence with Devontae Smith, getting banged up at various points throughout his career. And so Deshaun Jones last year was kind of that guy, and he played really well, so he earned that opportunity. But Red Morgan this year, he's gotten a little bit bigger, a little bit stronger. You can see it in the frame, and it hadn't. I think he's continued to work really hard even since the season started to continue to add mass, and he's playing really physical, and that scrappiness and that football intelligence where he picked up the defense almost immediately. All that stuff starting to shine through, and it couldn't come at a better time because Deshaun Jones is struggling a little bit. Drake Kirkpatrick. The thing about him is just the length. Not a very lengthy guy. And Red Morgan, he does have some length, but he's not like super tall. But just Dre, I kind of like if you can have him at safety, I would rather see that because, when you've got those shorter, slot corners, sometimes the offense kind of like Tennessee did last year late in the game with Chris Brazzell, where they put him in the slot, got him on King Mac, a 5'10 Husky, and then gave him a ball to go get. That's one of those mismatches you just don't want. So I would love for his play to continue as well. Let's see. Uncle Charles, appreciate you being here. Roll Tide, y'all. Unk, Birmingham, Alabama. Appreciate you so much for being here. Let's see. Tobias Took, run fits are still not right. Linebackers keep getting caught up in the line, and we get gashed. I think more so in my opinion, I agree with that to an extent. I think more so it's the third level. And Greg McElroy pointed this out on the broadcast, and I think he's correct. The defensive backs, particularly the safeties, sometimes they get over-aggressive coming downhill. You want safeties who are aggressive, triggering downhill and being physical. You want that. That's great. Sometimes they put themselves too close to the line of scrimmage where the run is still being established. The running back is still trying to find where he's going to go, and they commit too much, and the running back finds a crease where they could have come up and actually been able to fit into the run a little bit better by being a little bit more patient. I know it's almost counterintuitive, or it contradicts what you're trying to say as far as getting downhill, but there's an art to that, and a lot of safeties have a pretty good feel for it. Sometimes, especially Keon Sabb, I feel like he's a little bit too aggressive, and he creates some opportunities on the second level. So I think, there's some second level run fit problems at times, but I also think there's a lot of third level problems. Let's see. Gumptown, yeah, he'll look great tonight. Caleb King. Anybody else think Daniel Hill earned more carries going forward? He definitely did. Yeah, and I think that this was already to an extent. I think this was already in the the works. Just based off of what he did against Missouri, didn't still show up on the stat sheet necessarily, but as I said last week, multiple of those carries getting 4 or 5 yards. Nothing crazy, nothing like he was doing at various points tonight where he was, the contact balance and running through some tackles and creating 9 or 10-yard gains or 11-yard gains. Nothing quite like that. But Alabama, when they needed him in some of those critical moments to give them favorable situations, he was able to do it. So definitely think he's earned that opportunity. Let's see. Hans says, I was telling Tennessee fans that Aguilar will get his 200, but every yard would have to be earned. But you nailed it, Hans. I mean, that's exactly the way it felt. Every yard. One of the things, yes, Tennessee got their explosives on the ground. They had multiple, pretty big plays, but the explosives that were happening have happened pretty much every step of the way for this offense. They weren't happening against Tennessee. They had some good chunks. They did, but they moved the football not to as well as Alabama does, but it looked more like Alabama, where you're not getting the huge explosive downfield 70-yard touchdowns or 50-yard touchdowns, but you're consistently getting some of those chunk yardage, 20 yards, 25 yards, 18 yards, things like that, living in those areas and doing quite well. You saw some of that from Tennessee with the explosive downfield stuff that they have been kind of just doing to everybody. Alabama didn't allow it. They said, we're not going to let you beat us that way. And they paid for it on the ground a little bit. I think some of that was just a numbers game where Tennessee had the right numbers because of what Alabama was trying to do as far as stopping some of the explosive stuff downfield. Nick Saban took a different approach against Tennessee in 2022, where he said, doesn't matter how much you're absolutely torching me. We're going to stay committed to trying to stop this Tennessee run game because this is what they actually want to do. And we will give up some of that. So I don't agree with that. I'm more of a, hey, why don't you make them earn it? Because the more plays they have to make on any particular drive, the more chances they have of screwing something up. But that's kind of the approach that Womack took. And for the most part, yeah, I mean, I guess you can argue that was the correct route because it's exactly what happened. They inched the football all the way down the field before the end of the first half. And then Aguilar made that critical mistake because he had like ever many plays to make a mistake. And Zabian Brown undercuts the route and takes it for a 99-yard pick six. Like that was probably the right route to take. So once again, defending this style of offense, and it does look a little different than it did a few years ago, but interesting difference between Saban and Kane Womack with this game in particular. Matt. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that, man. Yeah, definitely give us a like. Give us, if you're not subscribed, we would certainly appreciate that. Another thing, guys, and we anytime we go live, we obviously can't do this, but we're trying to build the podcast. Spotify and Apple, and it's doing a phenomenal job. You guys are doing fantastic as far as getting over there, wherever you listen to your podcast and following, clicking that download button. Where just it's automatic downloads. You don't have to worry about anything. You don't have to like every single one of them or download them each individually. You can put it pretty much on automatic download where they're just always available. If that's how you want to consume or listen, we would certainly appreciate that. That would be a massive help for us. You don't even have to listen over there. That's just not the way it works. They're all about downloads. And just, hey, if people are clicking that download button, that helps us. We're trying to grow this thing. We've got a lot of great ideas. I think EG is doing phenomenal work. Jimmy is one of the absolute best in the business. Love what we're doing with him. But we got some other stuff in the works as well. So that would really help us. So if you haven't done that, please do that. It's the Cover Crimson Podcast Network. That podcast network is very critical. If you just do Cover Crimson, we had an old feed or channel that it'll probably take you to, and it's the wrong spot. So definitely search Cover Crimson Podcast Network. Justin, roll tide, brother. Appreciate you being here. Let's see. Joseph Patterson, Yanze for sure bald. Yes, he did. Clay Revis, roll tide roll from Decatur, Alabama. I think Athens is playing Decatur. Is it this week? This next upcoming Friday? I went to Athens, played football there. We played the Red Raiders a couple of times. Always had a lot of respect for you guys. So appreciate you being here, brother. Good luck this next week, if I'm correct, and Decatur is playing Athens. Explore Horizon said Lawson took another bad angle on that touchdown run. He did. I mean, he just, and we saw was it Ahmad Hardy or Jamal Roberts? One of them made no, it's Bo Pribula. It was the quarterback made Bray look silly on a touchdown run last week. Sometimes that just happens. I say it all the time. Sometimes good players make good plays, and Deshaun Bishop is a really good player. He's one of the better running backs in the SEC. You don't want to see that from Lawson. I thought early, especially, I thought he was playing pretty good. He was getting in there. He was mixing things up. Thought he had a really good feel for locating the football. But yeah, that wasn't his best moment. We've all had him playing the game. Bama Dave Pierre is Courtney Upshaw's cousin. Yes, he is. Not built the same way. Courtney was just a truck, man, and both played the same position. But it's funny because Yanze kind of came from that lean. Has had to really work hard to put on mass. Courtney was the one that you were trying to work to make sure his weight stayed down. Just it's funny how that works. I actually played against Courtney Upshaw in the state championship when we won it in 2006. He played for Eufaula. That was a great game. I think 10-7 final score. But he was a junior then. He was a dude back then, played tight end and edge. And I knew he was going to be a dude for Alabama. Yanze, 5-star recruit. A lot of talent himself. Obviously was rated quite a bit higher than Courtney, even though Courtney definitely was highly rated as well. But he's really starting to bolster the pass rush. And once again, you lose a player like Quay Rusall, most defenses do. You don't replace him. It's just that's a huge hole in on your defense for however long he's out, which is obviously going to be a while. And yet Alabama has built depth. They've allowed these guys to get playing time and get comfortable. There was no transition from there was a transition becoming the starter and having to play the number of snaps that Yanze Pierre's had to play. But with what the coaching staff was getting him last year and what they were already getting him this year, he was already pretty comfortable out there. And so he was ready. And now they're doing the same things. You see it with Noah Carter. You see it with Justin Hill. They're getting reps and opportunities out there on the edge. And what I'm not saying, hopefully nothing happens to Yanze, but if it does, at least you've been getting those guys reps where you're not coming in completely cold and you're a deer in headlights trying to figure things out. You've been out there. Noah Carter played a lot today, a lot. And I'm not saying he played over 50% of the snaps, but I saw 24 out there quite a bit. So, and Justin Hill played a little bit as well. So that's obviously really important. Jay Bake, what position group impressed you the most? Oh man, once again, that's tough. Obviously it wouldn't be the offensive line because they fell short on the run side of things. Can't say the running backs. Ty, it's one player, so and I thought he did some really good things, but also, had a couple of issues in there. Wide receivers for the most part, no drops. Wide receivers were pretty impressive. Secondary, against this. I guess it would have to be, if I had to pick a position group, it'd probably be the defensive front. And I'll go ahead and I'll cheat a little bit and I'll include the Wolves with the defensive line and just those 4 front players because James Smith, I thought, played a really good game. LT Overton was fairly disruptive. He did some LT Overton things, didn't do anything to just blow you away, but was certainly a good complimentary piece. Yanze was the best player on Alabama's defense tonight, in my opinion. So a lot of that leans with Yanze, but it wasn't just him. I thought London Simmons did some pretty good things. I'll have to go back and check, but off the top of my head, I would probably say the defensive front a little bit. All right, guys, we are getting close to wrapping this up. Caleb King says, please have Jimmy Moore as much as possible. I like his insight and viewpoint. And the more I watch Locked on Bama, I think Luke does a great job, Caleb. He's a different style than me. But I think Jimmy you get both sides of Jimmy. I think what they do at Locked On's great work. I love the fact that they're providing you guys with daily content, just like we're trying to do. But we love what we're doing with Jimmy as well. And I like that we've been able to kind of spread out this stuff a little bit, the episodes, and kind of make it where 4 days a week we're getting him. And he's putting in the work for you guys. He's doing a lot of stuff. It's a lot keeping up behind the scenes, watching film and making sure you're on top of everything else. But the content he's giving both channels, I think, is a great job. Obviously, we would love to have Jimmy literally every time we go live, or excuse me, every time we post anything, any piece of content. If Jimmy was on it, we certainly would not hate that at all. But I know that he's a hardworking guy that's doing some other stuff as well. So we appreciate what he's given, and we appreciate you guys, for tuning in and liking that content. So I will say that this has been a lot of fun. Hour and 15, probably. With it being a late game, it's getting close to midnight, and there's still 400 plus of you guys on here, and we just we can't tell you how much we appreciate it. We had a meeting this week, and just we're so blessed. You guys do a phenomenal job. Y'all carry this conversation. And me hopping on here, like, I wouldn't have been able to talk about half of this stuff if you guys weren't helping guide me with the comments and the super chats. We certainly appreciate. Just once again, I can't tell you how much we appreciate you guys, how much we appreciate, everybody who's involved with this channel. I think we're building something special here, and that certainly includes you guys. So thank y'all so much. One thing about it, I got my row back on. You can also help us. I've never been a believer in selling things that I don't believe in. I've done it before. I promise you I'm not going to get into details, but I've tried to sell things that I just really didn't believe in. It was probably the most miserable thing I've ever done. I believe in rowback. It's not personal. Like I had heard about rowback, but I'd never worn anything. Obviously they're a sponsor of the show, you cover 20, you can get 20% off your order by going to rowback.com. But when I finally got that first piece and I put it on the hoodie, the Alabama hoodie, I was hooked. Immediately went and ordered more. The most comfortable thing I own. It's not even hoodie season out in the afternoons or during the daytime. It's pretty hot, but I love it. I'm forcing it a little early. I'm ready for it to be true fall, cool down. So, I mean, as far as I know we kind of ask a lot of you guys, and we just appreciate everything you guys give us. But if you're looking to get something for the holidays for your family, some clothing, they got a great women's brand. They can, for your pets, obviously a lot of great men's stuff. Get to rowback.com, use the promo code cover20, get 20% off your order. Good game day selection for Alabama. Great, just everyday wear. That's not Alabama. Certainly would help us. So thank y'all so much for being here tonight. We will be back. I think EG and I are going to try to go live tomorrow evening. So it won't just, it'll be where y'all can hop on and add comments and questions. I'm going to be able to go in and watch the film before then, or at least try to get as much of it watched as possible. So, stick with us. We appreciate you guys so much, and we will talk to you guys soon.